Well, this video that you're about to see is a little bit about solar panels and a lot about the philosophy of perfection. So enjoy. Well, we got a completely grey day, and there's this £25 solar panel together with the charge controller. I'll show you the charge controller. It's a pretty bog standard charge controller, cheap charge controller that they sell on eBay, basically, with all the equipment. But it came with the charge controller. I think it was £25, and the charge controller is good. It will take 100 watt panel. It says some ridiculous amount on the controller itself. It's hard to believe, really. It says here that it's rated to 12 or 24 volts. Rated current is 100 amps. The maximum PV voltage is 50 volts. The maximum PV input power is 1260 watts at 12 volts or 2520 watts at 24 volts. It's hard to believe, isn't it? I don't think it's true, really. That anyway, apparently it should handle a 100 watt solar panel. That's the main thing. So that's all that is an emergency. I'm not even going to use that. I'm just going to keep that in the boat for an emergency. And the idea of this panel here is just to be able to charge mobile phone bank. I had this. I took this on the boat with me, and it charged my camera up twice. This little bank twice, and so if it can charge my camera up like that, and my camera normally takes a lot of charging, then it should be able to charge my mobile phone. So it's just an emergency situation, and you know, I was going to put this mounted permanently on the hatch, but if you have a look at this device here, you can't really put this outside. This has got USB things. You'd have to tape that all up. I don't know what you'd do, really. Or you could tape it up and just use that and wire that directly to this and actually have it. We'll have to see how it works. But at the moment, this was 1% just a few minutes ago. It's now 4% charge. It's obviously charging. And it's not even horizontal to the sky. It's only seeing a little bit of the sky. And it's completely overcast, dark as out there. And so it's surprising it can even charge at all. So probably wouldn't if it was going through the charge controller. But yeah, we'll just have to see how we go, because if it can charge that small little battery just like that, that's really, really useful. That can be maintained fully charged as an emergency situation. Or if the other solar panel goes out, that charge controller can take its place, and even the whole system could take its place, and if left for a long time, it would charge up a battery. So it could be good for an emergency. It's something that I can carry in a small boat, and in addition to the 100 watt solar panel. Well, as you can see, we've got our little control panel wired up now, and you can see what I've done is I put two fuses on it. I've got a large fuse, I think it's 20 amp fuse on the inverter plug, and I've got, that's that one, and I've got a 5 amp fuse on the USB charger and everything else, and so everything else is wired. And these piggyback connectors That's how I've wired it. And so I've got all of the red cables are piggybacked all the way through, and all the black cables are piggybacked through. I'm still waiting for some smaller cables so I can carry on with this. This is a lamp. A lamp is going into here to switch my yeah, so that's got to switch to switch the chart light on, and then there's just a black cable to there and this red cable to red and black coming in. So that's basically how you wire one of those things. I got the timer running on the iPhone. You can see it's been going for 13.5 minutes, and it's charged that little battery up to 5% now. It's reading 5%, so we'll have a look later on and see how long it's taken to get a bit more charge in it. There you go, 10% in 50 minutes. It's pretty good going really in these conditions. It's not really light out there. And I had a look. The panel was sold as a 200 watt panel. It's actually, I would say, a 20 watt panel, just by going from what I can see on the internet. These with these 4 pieces, it seems to be 20 watts. So still it's quite good. It's only a small thing, you know, it doesn't take up much space. Pack away in the boat somewhere and you've got 20 watt solar panel, which probably doesn't do too bad on a sunny day in direct sun. Remains to be seen. Well, it's now 3:30 in the afternoon and it's really dark in here, and the solar panel's still charging. So, you know, it was advertised as a 200 watt panel. So this is what these people do, and it's probably why I bought it. You know, I was sucked in because I didn't really know anything about solar panels when I bought it a long time ago. And so anyway, but I had it, and so it looks like it's 20 watts. It's okay, it does the job really good. It must be a monocrystalline panel, I think. And so it's a good little panel, and yeah, if you had a few of these panels spread around your boat, you'd probably be okay. Be a lot of wiring, of course. So it simplifies it, just having one panel simplifies it, I think. So, it's been charging, it's nearly 40% charged, and it's been going for as many hours, 4 hours, so it looks like over the day it will charge this power bank. So you've got a day's power bank. It would be enough to run your camera. Charge it twice in a day is quite a lot, a big camera like mine. And so Sony RX10. So you know, I said you already know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I like the idea of this like mini system with a little battery, that if all else fails, you've got this fully charged power bank. You could have quite a lot of a bigger power bank actually. In fact, it'd be nice to have a really up there lithium battery, 12 volt lithium battery system, just for a 20 watt panel. Would be interesting. I'm going to have a look and see what that would cost. for a lithium-ion battery for that. Oh, that's interesting. I went and had a look, and it looks like what you need is about a 10 amp hour battery. 10 amp hour battery is good enough for the 20-watt solar panel. So, you know, you get 10,000 milliamp hour phone battery bank. So, you know, that's probably good enough. The funny thing is I've had a look at all the USB banks, battery banks for phones and that, and they all overstate the amp hours ridiculously. Like, some of them are saying there's 9,000 amp hours with 3 zeros at the end because they quote it as milliamp hours. And they put all these zeros on the end. And everybody's doing exactly the same, and nobody's saying anything about it. And I went and searched the whole internet to see if there's any controversy about what they're doing, and there's no mention at all of this as a controversy. And everybody's overstating the size of their battery banks. How can you buy a battery bank if you don't know how much, you know, how many milliamp hours they take? And they're all saying that they take 9 million milliamp hours. It's ridiculous. So, I don't know. Anyway, I did find out that you can get a mobility scooter battery. These are about the right capacity, 12 volts and 10 amps. 10 amp hours is a small one they make. And normally they sell them in twos, but you can get one of them for less than £20. So less than £20 gets you a mobility scooter, deep cycle gel. I think they're gel batteries. So I don't think gel batteries are that great actually. Anyway, it's worth doing some research. I mean, it seems to me like a large phone bank is an ideal situation if all you want to do is charge USB devices, because you can accumulate them in a battery bank like that, and it's probably the most efficient. They're all lithium ion, these battery banks, so you know they're good, ideally suited to charging solar panels. There you go. Well, it's quite early in the morning. That's why the light's a bit yellow around here. And I woke up this morning. I hadn't made a video for a while, and I've been writing a little bit, and so I thought I'd tell you something about what I've been writing. So many years ago, when I was in my 20s and working in my first computer programming job, I was a trainee computer programmer, an apprentice to a number of master computer programmers. They were teaching me how to program. And one of the gentlemen there, he once said to me, he said, we were talking about Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law is a kind of a joke, really, about all the strange rules and laws there are in the universe. And he said to me, you know, there's one thing they left out of Murphy's Law, and that is that you don't need anything you keep until you throw it away. So we all thought about this and laughed, because we'd all had these experiences where you keep something for a long time and then you throw it away and then you need it. And so this comes to, as I say, it's been many years. I lived my whole life through this, and probably about 15 or 20 years ago I came across this other idea that, similar to everything's perfect and happening automatically, is you don't know what anything's for. This is interesting, because things happen, you do things, you forget to do things, and if everything's perfect and happening automatically, there has to be some mechanism that the universe uses to actually make things happen that otherwise would not happen. So if you're learning certain laws, what we're here to do in the universe, we're here to learn the laws of nature, because if we disobey the laws of nature, then some event has to occur to teach us what the laws are. And so the fact that we throw something away and then we find that we need it is just nature telling us you need to learn something here, and that something that we're trying to learn is that everything has a purpose. And the Greeks used to understand this because, see, I touched this at the same time as I said that, because well, this is how my solar panel is going to be connected. I think this is how my solar panel is going to be connected, because I did this diagram and I had to order some pieces. So I did this diagram with the idea of how to order these pieces of my solar panel, and I ordered them. Now, when they arrived, the U-bolts were a lot smaller than I thought they were going to be. And I had a look and I thought, maybe they'll be okay, maybe they won't be okay. So, but you know, everything's perfect and happening automatically. So what I have to do is I have to discover why the U-bolts are the way they are, and not think there's a mistake. You know, this is what we think, oh, there's a mistake, I should send something back. So you should never send anything back. You should always hang on to it, because everything in the universe has a purpose and it's all perfect. And so where I discovered this was I was making yurts, I was doing yurt making, and part of the journey of learning how to make yurts is to make what's called benders, which are sort of oval structures made with curved poles, and you have to cut a hole of the poles and you have to weave them together like a bird weaves a bird's nest. And in this process you're cutting pieces off. And so I discovered that every single piece that you cut off, if you waited long enough, and it wasn't very long, you'd find out what that little piece was for. And there was not a single little piece, and then you could take that piece and cut a piece off that. And there wasn't a single little piece until you got to very, very small pieces which were not useful for something. And so this is a very frugal way of using the materials in the universe, and this is the way the universe is. It's very frugal. Nothing is wasted. And so when we see all the waste and the destruction and all this plastic that's getting thrown away and everything like this, then we know that there's something wrong with the world. And yeah, that's enough. No, it's not, because I didn't tell you about Telos. Now, there's a word that we don't have in our language anymore. It's called telos, and the ancient Greeks and those before them had a word for that there is purpose and function in everything in the universe, and this word is telos. And so the Greeks were great scientists, ancient scientists, so it took them a long time of observing the universe to understand that there was telos. It was a kind of an evolutionary idea, if you like, something that came into the world through scientific inquiry, that there's telos, there's purpose in everything. So now scientists all of a sudden in the last 100 years have decided that there's no purpose in anything, it's all just random, chance. And so they've lost the concept of telos, and they've lost the word. There's no word anymore. Telos is not a word. It's actually used by anybody, really. So it's necessary to understand that the Greeks didn't make a mistake. Science has gone into the infinitely small particle and has lost the big overview of telos. And of course, it's not a mistake. It has to come back to that, because everything's perfect. So the Greeks couldn't have been wrong. How could they have been wrong? It was mankind evolved that way. Nobody's wrong. If you look at everything in the past, there's nothing wrong in it. You can say, oh well, we know this now. But also, you have to realise what they knew was also just as important to know as what we're learning now. And so we're only forgetting what they knew because it would have been too much to discover what we're discovering now and maintain the overview that they had of certain things, including the stars in the heavens and the Telos in the universe. Okay, so that's Telos. And I'll show you, I wrote a little book, I'll show you my little book. Okay, this is how I do my books. It's called A Study in Telos, and I do my books using A4 computer paper, quite thick paper, because I use a paintbrush and ink. And so I don't need to show you this book, but I just wanted to show you that this was a work I did about Telos. It's only a short book. I think there's 23 pages. Each page is simply what I can fit. What I can fit on the page. Now, we were talking about you don't know what anything is for, and last week in my video you'll see I bought 2 fishing reels, and I thought one was to go on a rod and one was to go on the boat because I only bought 1 rod. Well, it turned out that after I made that video I bought another rod. It hasn't actually arrived yet, but I did buy another rod. And so now I know, although I didn't know then, now I know that there's 2 reels and 2 rods. But I still don't know whether that reel goes on that rod because I haven't got the rod yet and I haven't put the reel on it. So I won't know until I do that what it's actually for. But because I was writing this book about Telos, I needed 2 fishing reels, one which was perfect and beautiful, and one which was equally looked perfect, didn't have any flaws in it, but was not as beautiful. And my lady said to me, because ladies are very intuitive, she said, "That's a beautiful reel." And then when I showed her the second one I bought, she said, "That's not so nice." So why is one beautiful and one not beautiful? This was the origin of the study of Telos. And so the main purpose that I got the 2 reels for was this book. I didn't know I was going to write this book. I just got up in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I started to write this book. And that's how artists work. They're inspired. They get up in the morning, they do something, and then it's finished, they fold it up and they put it away, and they do something else. And then they don't feel inspired for a while. So just to talk about this process. And so the fishing reels, now I have 2 rods, 2 fishing reels. 1 fishing reel is not beautiful. Can I live with this tool that's not beautiful? I don't know. It's beautiful in its own way, but it's not as beautiful as the other one, which is more perfect in its construction. So you have to wait for whatever comes to come. Everything's perfect. If you stop, you're meant to stop. Not possible to change the world. And this is why I try not to edit my videos at all, because I feel that everything's purposeful. Perhaps the viewers need a little time to think about what you just said. There are many other things here which I bought and they've changed. They've arrived and they've changed what I thought I needed them for, changed into something else. And this is often the way. But there is purpose and function in everything that we have. I'll tell you another thing that I found out the purpose of, because one thing I didn't know, I said in the previous video, I said, I don't know why I'm buying all this fishing stuff. Why am I buying fishing stuff now? I don't need it now. I don't need to go fishing. I need to go fishing next year. Well, I meditated on this for some weeks, and I've realized that it's absolutely necessary to get all this stuff now because it's building up, you know. I have boxes now like this, and I have fishing rods. They're large objects with reels attached to them. And it's a major problem to carry all this stuff. And when I go to my boat eventually, I'm going to be going on the bus. And it's not possible at that point to carry too many things. I'm going to have to be carrying an iPad and a few other things, my clothes, and you know, I mean, it was a lot of stuff anyway. Probably going to have to take food and all sorts of things. And so it's necessary to... I'm seeing a little mosquito or something here. Even the mosquitoes have purpose, and it's very tragic really that mankind is now trying to eliminate the mosquito without understanding the telos of the mosquito. And the mosquitoes, I've learned to live with the mosquito. I've lived with mosquitoes all over the walls, and they're not biting me, only because I learned that they have their purpose and what their purpose is. And if you understand their purpose, they don't need to bite you anymore because you now have learned your lesson. The main lesson you need to know with mosquitoes is you're not supposed to be there. You have to move and go somewhere else. So these people living in places where the mosquitoes are, they shouldn't be there. That's as simple as that. It's not a healthy place to be. You can't live there. And so that's an example of the telos of mosquitoes. Flies are another thing. Flies are there to tell you that something needs to be done. Fly will land on something and you have to pick that thing up and put it away. And so everything has telos. Why was I talking about this? See, I can't remember. It's not necessary to remember. There's a time for everything, and memory is not something that memories are words coming to us in our mind, and they come in speaking, or they come in thoughts. It's the same thing, it's the same word that's coming to us. And it comes or it doesn't come, and it's not possible to force it to come. Anybody who's tried to force a memory, this is a painful process. You don't enjoy this. So that's nature telling you, you shouldn't be trying to do this, you shouldn't be trying to force anything, because nature is really wants you to be happy and well and love what you do. And so if you're not loving something, you shouldn't really be doing it. That's nature's way of telling you that you made a mistake, doing something wrong. I spent many years of my life going into a job, going to do a job, which I hated to walk into the building in the morning. Well, I didn't mind doing the job so much, but when I walked into that building, I just hated it. And I should never have carried on doing it. I really should have not done what I hated, which is I should have just not gone into that door. I should have phoned them up and said, I'm finished, I'm going to get another job. And if I'd done that, something might have happened, you know. don't know whether you would have a job or you would have a better job or they would have changed what they were doing and listened to you. Or so. You don't know, but you can't just keep on doing something that you hate. You have to stop doing it. And so this is a philosophy, don't do what you hate. Another philosophy, that you cannot do what you hate. You have to only do what you don't hate. That means you don't have to do what you love. You have to stop doing whatever it is that you don't want to do. If you don't feel like getting up and answering the door, you shouldn't do it. There are many things that people do that they shouldn't do, and that can lead to bad experiences in their lives. There's a lot of different things I'm talking about, and I hope it's not too much for people. You know, I had to write another book this week because I read this paragraph of Keats, and it was a quotation, and it was the wisest thing that people thought that could be said about beauty. And Keats said, "Beauty is truth and truth is beauty," or vice versa. And it's only partially true, in fact it's not true really. You cannot see beauty unless you're in the truth, that's for sure. You can't really know what the beautiful is unless you're in truth. But once you're in the truth, you can certainly see what ugliness is and what beauty is and what causes ugliness and the purpose, the telos of ugliness. And so it's not true that truth is beauty. This is not true. Beauty comes out of truth, and greater beauty comes out of greater wisdom and greater truths. That's really what beauty is. Beauty is a product of truthful existence. And to be guided by the hand of nature. And so anything that is perfect, anything that's perfectly in tune with the laws of nature, nature itself, is beautiful. There's nothing that's not beautiful. Even a decomposing leaf is an object of beauty if it's left in its natural state and left where it fell. Or gathered up and put into a compost heap, even that is beautiful. What isn't beautiful is where things are left to decay, where nature gives something to man, but man leaves it to decay, like in a forest. If man just leaves the wood to fall onto the forest floor and it decays, it turns the forest into a terrible place. In Germany there's nothing but bad biting insects in the forest because Germans have this belief, it's not a belief really, it's a laziness, that you just leave everything fall on the forest floor and that's it. And nobody's allowed to touch it. And this is exactly the opposite. Everything has its purpose, and all this wood that's lying on the forest floor is destined to some purpose. And what we're doing is we're burning fossil fuels, and we're not burning the wood that's in the forest. And so everything's out of order. And it's necessary to understand that you cannot substitute something like coal or gas for firewood and think that you've solved the problem, because now you've got a firewood problem. What are you going to do with all this firewood? So it's important to understand that man has his function too. Man's function is to go into the forest and take the wood out and burn it. That's man's function. Man doesn't do that. The forest become places, evil places. They have to become evil. Evil is just life backwards. They're just not living anymore. They just become dead and desolate places, forests, if you don't take the wood out. If you take the wood out and you tidy everything up, then what happens is the forest blooms and it produces a mushroom harvest, and then you can go and harvest the mushrooms. And I've lived on these mushrooms that you can harvest in the forest if you tidy it up. And I've watched them come up. I've tidied the place up, I've watched the mushrooms come up. Within a week, the mushrooms will come up after you've done your work. I'll leave you on that unusual note.